Hello, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video we'll be looking at the Grand Mafia, and this video I will letting you know why influence isn't really an important thing in this game. And initially when the game was first released, many strong factions were looking at strong players, which influence is a big indicator of. And now that the game has progressed for quite a while, influence isn't really a big factor, and what factions are really looking for are people who help support the faction. And what supporting means is being active in the faction, not just by filling raids but also by maybe helping demolish some enemy faction buildings or even building your own faction towers in Governor's War. And there are certain indications which you can check if this player is a good player or not really a good player. So let me just bring you through what factions are looking for in general. And in the past, when you look at, let's say, the top few factions, you will see that requirements are like influence, as it is shown here, influence. And nowadays you would see that a lot of factions are looking for not just influence. In some factions you can see that, just now I click over ACG, you can see that there's quite a detailed description of what is needed. For example, mention star more than 8, influence more than 1 billion but under 2 billion, kills more than 100 million, set 8 elite, godfather, and VIP 18. So what factions are looking for is, for mention star, they're not really looking at your mention star, but what they're truly looking for are troop star level. So if you're able to recruit somebody based on troop star level, then yes, you can place it in your requirements. But the issue with that is that if you go into the player's profile, you're not able to see how strong their troop level are. So they could be mention star 8 but their troop level could be just like 6, which is why they only can recruit based on your publicly available information, which is your mention star. And for this set, more than 8 elite godfather, what it means is that they want raid join bonus, and having a set of 8 elite godfather give you 8% raid join bonus. So this will help increase the raid attack when your faction wants to attack different other factions or demolishing enemy faction towers. And also VIP 18, I'm not very sure why they require a VIP 18 and above. This is really not as important in my opinion, but yes, nowadays you'll be looking at troop star level or mention star, and influence, kills, and also raid join bonus. That is the main thing that you are looking for, or main thing that factions are looking for. And the reason why influence now has a very different connotation is because in the past, big players are usually associated with larger or higher influence, and they are also active players and also participate a lot in raids. However, now that the game has gotten a little bit older, there are people who have high influence but they don't really contribute much to the faction, because most of their influence is that they have a lot of troops inside their turf, but they will not send their troops out to help with raids because they are afraid of losing their troops. So in other words, these people are farmers, and they basically leech off the faction resources and just want to get as many faction perks, faction gifts, and just faction rewards from winning Governor's War and winning certain events. If your faction is strong, obviously you will get a lot more rewards just based on people spending your faction level gifts. Higher level faction gifts gives you better rewards. So for players who have incredibly high influence but they have low kills, these are the players that you should really be looking out for, because they probably aren't even joining raids or helping move your faction ahead. That is why it is also looked down upon for many of the top factions. They don't really want to have dead weight in their faction. And also for Governor's War faction pairing, the faction influence highly influences which faction you're going to attack. So obviously, if you have a very high faction influence, you're definitely going to be paired with somebody of an equal faction influence or very similar faction influence. And if you have a lot of players who are dead weight, who have high influence and don't really participate in raids, this can really bump up your faction influence or your faction rankings higher up the list, and you will be paired with people of similar faction, but however they might have like 90 players who are very active in fighting, but your faction could have like 90 players or even 100 players, but maybe only 50 to 60 of your faction members are willing to participate in battle. So this will already kind of like a disadvantage on your faction. This is why a lot of strong factions are really looking at players who really have good mention star level, high rate join bonus, and would join as fillers. And if your faction is really serious about recruiting, for example my faction for E1A, they also look at EEI, which is the eliminated enemy influence. So this is very important to take note of. So I can give you an example. Right, so over here is my public battle stats. You can take a look. If you go into the game, you can take a look at these stats. That's what I can show you. And why people are looking at this eliminated enemy influence is basically to sieve out players with incredibly high kills but very low eliminated enemy influence. So how players can get so many kills, like 1 billion kills, but have such a low EEI is because they are attacking like very small mansion turfs, which could have a lot of like tier 1, tier 2 or even tier 3 units, and all of these tier 1 to tier 3 units don't have a lot of influence in general. So if you kill, for example, a tier 1 unit, you might only be taking away maybe like 6 or 10 influence, versus if you kill a tier 4 unit, one tier 4 unit is equal to like about 36 influence. So this is how you can determine if this player with such a high number of kills are only attacking or soloing very lousy mansion turfs to boost up their total enemy kills. So I've also seen that my current kills is about 215 million, but my EEI, I've seen players with 800 million kills. Even my EEI is higher than these players with about 4 times my enemy kills in general. So this is what factions are looking in general on all the top factions, and why influence isn't really a main factor. As long as you have sufficient troop influence to help fuel raids and to last the entirety of one governor's war. So for example, if there's almost like 100 or like 80 majority of the faction members who are skinny players, they are very active but they don't have a lot of troop influence, they're able to lower down the faction influence by quite a bit and pair up with, let's say, a faction that is not as strong. Yes, and so this is why influence in the Grand Mafia isn't as important, and what you should really be looking for is to really get up your kills, contribute to your faction so that you can stay in the top few factions of the game. So this is just a really short video of why your personal, the Grand Mafia influence doesn't really matter as much as before, as now there are enormous amount of people growing to be very strong or have very high influence, but they are mainly farmers and don't really contribute to faction battles. So how do you avoid this? There's very easy ways to avoid this. Number one is to make sure that you contribute to your faction, and if you really contribute to your faction by quite a bit, your troop influence wouldn't spike up so high because your faction will constantly be in battle with other enemy factions within the governor's war itself, unless you are in a faction that is a farmers faction, so you don't really have a lot of battles coming along, and that is a little bit detrimental on your side. I recommend at least a healthy amount of battles so you're able to at least get some more points by killing more enemy units during your massacre day, the MD day, to get more state honor points. So when your kills go up, when you get more kills through MD, and with normal raids comes with losses, your total personal influence would be more like stable, and you will not be labeled as a very fat mansion but also someone with low amount of kills, which a lot of top faction wouldn't want. So I recommend from the beginning of the game, try to help out your faction by reinforcing your faction rates so that you're able to get more kills and increase your personal EI for your battle stats. And at the same time, make sure to level up your mansion so that you get a higher star level mansion, and also get up your equipment so that you're able to get raid join bonus as well. So these are some of the tips that can get you to really be in the game. And unfortunately, if you are a farmer, then this really isn't suited for you, because you'll probably be in a farmer faction and most likely you will not be moving factions a lot, because farmers faction are mainly just factions that just stay within the governor's war and mind their own business. So you will not get as much growth as compared to someone who is constantly in battle and in the top few factions. And yes, this is it for my video, and I hope you guys gain some insight on why many factions or why influence isn't as important in this game as before. And if you like my video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys again real soon for my next video.